all change takes resources, right? Time, money, energy. And this kind of developmental work does, right? It takes you going to difficult places, and being able to have someone partner with you. In my experience of working with coaches, having my own, it is invaluable, right? With the speed and acceleration and depth and staying power that it has.
Welcome to Well Said, Finger Lakes, the podcast where we speak with interesting people, businesses, and organizations from in and around the Finger Lakes region of New York State. My name is Jeremiah Craig, and we're here in the live room at Well Said Media in Ithaca, New York. Our guest today is coach and consultant of women and LGBTQ plus business leaders, Kim Wunner. Welcome, Kim. How are you doing today?
Hi, Jeremiah. Thank you for having me, and I'm doing well. Yeah, having a great day.
That's great. Love to hear it. Thank you for joining us on the podcast today. I'm really excited to get into some of the coaching and consulting topics. And I want to start out with this because I noticed on your website, you say you're not just a coach and consultant. You are a partner to help women and those in the LGBTQ plus community accomplish their big goals. Can you tell us what that means?
Absolutely. So that means is that I work with individuals, and sometimes I work in businesses or in corporations to go in and help teams accomplish those big goals. So there are places where we might get stuck, where we can see it, we can feel it, we know there's a direction we want to go, and maybe we're just not sure how to get past the point we're at. And there's many different reasons for that. So that's where I come in as a partner, being that I am very invested in the relationship, and I'm very invested in the outcome that you want to have, and I want to help you get there. So we talk, we work through ideas, there will be homework, it's a very dynamic process that's actually very client-led. So I am not there telling someone necessarily what to do unless I'm in the consultant role. But in the coaching role, it's really a development and exploration to help the individual get where they want to be.
I love it. And was there a moment that you decided to only help women and LGBTQ plus folks with your coaching and consulting, or was it like that from the start?
It kind of was like that from the start.
Yeah.
However, I've always been interested in women and their self-sufficiency and ability to show up authentically. Mm-hmm. I have a women's studies degree. I started working at Planned Parenthood. I was very in the feminist advocacy place when I was younger. And over time that evolved into, I've always been focused on women's issues and helping us, show up in all of our power and all of our presence and all the gifts that we have to bring forward. The LGBT community just somehow became just part of that. I mean, that might be because that's how I identify, but there are also very overlapping systems that we exist in that don't let us, that are challenging, prohibit us from being able to show up strong and in our power and as our authentic selves. So I have found that working in both of those communities, I have an expertise and skill and experience where I can hold space and navigate.
Now, you're mentioning evolution through this process of becoming a coach, when you were younger, and I can imagine that it would be a roller coaster of situations that would lead you to become a coach. Is it inappropriate for me to ask, what were the events that led you to become a coach?
No, it's great that you asked that. It's not inappropriate. Really, I think that evolution started early. I've always had an immense ability to listen and to listen deeply and hold space. I mean, I'm talking cab drivers telling me about their families, people stopping me in the food market and just start talking to me. I mean, all the time. And I like that. And I've always had jobs, especially when I was younger, that involved that skill. I was a hall director, I was a counselor, those kinds of things. So I've had that in me for a long time. And then the actual course of events was that I was working corporate job at an ad agency in marketing, which is what my background is, my career background. And I had burnt out and it was done. And at that point in my life, I was at a juncture where I was like, enough is enough. I'm way out of alignment. I was very unhappy, very miserable, underfed, working out all the time, not seeing my daughter because I was working so much, spending a little bit of time with her. And I didn't like it. None of it felt fulfilling. So it took time to recalibrate. I started working with a coach. I was on group calls. She asked me to start facilitating them, thinking that was providing value and listening and really helping the other women. At the same time, another woman saw some of the things I was posting on Facebook. And out of nowhere, this woman asked me to be her life coach. I was like, well, this is kind of serendipitous and I should pay attention to the universe right now. I looked a little bit further into it and realized that the culmination of all of my experience was really like pushing me in this direction, and I loved it. So I found a certification program that matched the kind of skills I was looking to develop and a community behind me, and became certified and then accredited by the governing body, the International Coaching Federation, et cetera, et cetera. So long-ish story about what got me there.
And it sounds like you have a bunch of different life experiences that have led you to a point where you can coach others in a way that is very helpful to them. Yeah. But it seems like you also have several different ways that you can help clients by looking at your website. Can you sort of go through some of those of how you help clients?
Absolutely. So one, right, is coaching that we've been talking about. And that is really a process where I'm partnering with the other person. I'm listening to where they are and kind of shining a light on areas where I can see they're stuck. And with that, maybe help them generate skills that they might need to have. Sometimes it's undoing old thought patterns and habits. And sometimes it's developing new skills. And I do that through presence, right? Mindfulness and presence. So another way that I can help people is almost like a coach project manager, right? For example, I had one client whose goal was to move to South Carolina, and he's had this goal for 10 years. And he just couldn't get it going. He just was stuck. He's thought about it, can see it happening, can't do it. So we would meet weekly and we would discuss where he's at, what he needs to do, how he needs to do it. And we check in. So it was accountability to help him achieve his goals. So that's another way. A third way is that I work with organizations and people for workshops and skill building, right? Around communication issues, around boundary setting, things like that. And then fourth is that there's just a consulting piece where I will go to a nonprofit or an organization, small business. They tend to be mission driven and work in a business sense. So maybe it's marketing, maybe it's a business plan, maybe it's a project. And bringing my expertise from all the marketing and communications, from working in nonprofits and corporations to that small business to help them grow or achieve what they might want to.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Going back to the first part, you mentioned mindfulness and presence.
Yes.
Can you expand on what that means?
Absolutely. So my coaching program that I was trained in and certified in is called presence-based coaching. And that takes neuro-linguistics, it takes neuropathway programming, adult learning, and really the concept of presence, of being able to come into your body and trust your body intelligence. And that I work with clients to understand their bodies, what their bodies are telling them. So if maybe you feel anxious, you get tummy aches, right? Or you start sweating. What is that? And when does that happen? If you are in a situation where maybe you find yourself frozen, right? And you don't raise your hand at the table, why is that? And how can you understand what's happening in your body to overcome that behavior? So it's really about your own resilience and what you know and what you have, and being able to trust that. And that's rooted in being in the present moment, getting out of our heads when there's so much going on, especially in a business sense, right? And really trusting what we have and being able to come into the moment.
Yes. Wow. That makes so much sense. When I was younger, I was on medication for severe migraines.
Oh.
And I think it was mainly linked to all of the stress from high school or college and all of that. And, it didn't register with me until later that maybe there was something else besides for medication. And this presence thing kind of seems maybe like that's, if I was in touch with my body a little bit more, I could link the stress and the migraines together a little bit more quickly. Is that something that is that medication isn't always good to go for first, and maybe just a check in, and this presence thing How do you know like when to focus on yourself and your instincts and your body instead of like pursuing medications for these things?
Yeah, I think they can complement. I think they can go hand in hand. Medication serves a purpose, right? And a good purpose. But also your body intelligence and trusting your body and being able to self-regulate. So many times that our nervous systems go into like the fight, flight, freeze mode instantly. And we need to slow everything down, and we can move it back in, get our parasympathetic nervous system kicked in, where we can be calm and centered. And we can do that if we slow everything down. So while you might need a medication, but also in no way do I think one is better than the other.
Yeah.
I think the tools that we have available to us through presence help. Absolutely. And I think they can go hand in hand. And sometimes it isn't medication. Sometimes this is all you need, right? Is the power of your body chemistry, of your brain, and really forming a relationship with it. Sometimes medication does help, but I think working with those together as tools, right, to help address our complex ecosystem, is certainly a path to overall wellness and kind of mastery of your body.
Yes. So is this presence and focusing to your body, is this what is the most common thing holding some of your clients back, or is it something else?
Yes, by and large, right? The things that stand in front of us are really, they're external. Most of the time. They are things that we may have digested and they've become internal. We hear the word trauma a lot, and stored trauma and negative thinking. And those are things that have been put into us. None of us came into the world with those things, right? So the ability to be present and kind of come into yourself so that those external thoughts, those words, the shame, the you're not good enough, the you can't, this isn't for you, right? Being able to manage those waves of thought and keep persevering and have the stamina and endurance to go forward is very much presence, right? It's being able to stay centered and focus. So 9 times out of 10, now there's lots of reasons for that, right? But what we're doing is bringing someone back to themselves and slowing it down and realizing they have fundamental capabilities. They have enoughness. They have wellness. There's vibrancy, right? There's aliveness in all of us.
I love that phrase, enoughness, like having enoughness. That's a great way to put it.
Yes.
It's perfect. And now that we kind of have a foundation of your style and your approach to coaching and consulting, can you sort of break down what a coaching session is like with you?
Absolutely. So what we'll do is we will start a session just getting to know, checking in, how was the day, etc. Then we start with a presence exercise, which we'll do together. And that might be breathing, that might be a meditation. It kind of has to do where the person is, that I can lead them through something that feels appropriate. I might ask, do you need to be centered? Do you feel like you need to be grounded? Do you feel like you need more, of a creative space? How are you feeling? And let the client guide me. So we'll do something like that to come into the space together that we're co-creating for that session. And then I will ask them, what would you like to achieve by the end of this, right? What would be your goal for this meeting? And they'll let me know, and that gives me a North Star, right? And then we're going to have conversations. I'm going to ask questions to lead towards that North Star. If I feel like we're veering, I might say, hey, I think we're veering into a different topic. Do you want to keep going there, or do you want to come back to this goal? Let's see where we are. And we'll have some conversation. I said, I'll ask questions. There might be some reflection. And then, those conversations can get deep quickly. They should get deep quickly, right? And sometimes that's uncomfortable, and that's okay, right? It's supposed to be. That's where we grow, and that's all right. So we'll ask all the questions. I'll listen. And then together, we'll talk about what we can do in between sessions, what the client can do in between sessions to help facilitate the learning or understanding that they might have had. And there's all sorts of ways that can look depending on what we're doing and what the goal is. and then we'll wrap it up. Then I'm available in between sessions all the time to my clients, so that there might be mini coaching sessions that need to happen in between, or email. For some of my clients, I do document review depending on where they are and what they might need, so that there's support all the way, because this really is developmental and transformative work. And I always want my client to feel like they are partnered with me, that they aren't just like isolated and out in the ether if they're trying to work through a new skill building that they're building. It can be a vulnerable place, a very exciting place, but definitely you might need coaching along the way.
Yes, definitely. Okay, so it doesn't happen in just one session. It sounds like there's lots of different sessions in order for somebody to reach their goal. What happens when they do reach their goal? Does it just stop, like mission accomplished, or is this the next step? Do you focus on the next step with that specific client?
It depends on the client, but absolutely does depend on them. So if it's like goal accomplished, maybe it's a very like hard and fast, like I got the new job, or I had the difficult conversation, or I moved in that client's case, right? We'll talk about ways they can be supported ongoing. So maybe it's another package, a longer term engagement. Maybe it is, but it looks different. It might be like some spot checking. Maybe we meet like less frequently or something like that over a period of time. Or maybe there's a whole new goal. Like, okay, now you moved. Now what? Right? How are you going to acclimate? What do you want to manifest? What do you want to make happen in the movement? Or now that you've got a promotion, maybe you need some new skills on like management, how to manage a team or something like that. So it really depends. Sometimes that's it, mission accomplished and we're good. But I'm always available and there for the person moving forward.
That's great. Can you tell us about a specific time when you were able to help somebody mission accomplish, achieve their goals, next step?
Yes. So like we're done, like just mission accomplished, or just what that might look like?
Yeah, or if there's a specific one that you like, we would love to hear an example.
My God. I have a great story of a client who just is phenomenal. So when I met her, she wanted help setting up a nonprofit. She is in pit bull advocacy and links that to human and health wellness. So that's what she wanted to do. So I was going to help her do that. I have experience with nonprofits. I know how to do that. This came to learn that like her big dream, the big thing that we want to work on, is that she would love to see some kind of like farm space where people could come, maybe have little like camping or Airbnbs with their dogs. Maybe there's a garden that sells healthy like tinctures and things for animals. Maybe there's a farm, something like that, like this big, beautiful, kind of vibrant, lovely space.
I love it. It sounds amazing.
So that sounds great. And that was her goal in like 10 years. When her and I met, she lived in Pennsylvania, actually where I was living at the time, outside of Philadelphia. She had a corporate job. So this was where eventually she would head one day. Fast forward, she was just kind of entertaining it, because the more we talked about it, the more exciting it came to her. So when she was visiting her family up in the Poconos area in the Endless Mountains, she just started like looking around and came across a property that was a vineyard, a hobby vineyard for someone, like 20 acres. And she just checked in and he happened to be selling it. And she happened to buy it. So now this woman, the dream came true. Like she lives on the vineyard. She had her first season last year of selling the grapes. She's had some events, like Friday events where the people come do yoga. They've brought their dogs, a harvest festival. She's found someone who's actually going to do some private labeling of her grapes to make wine to support the nonprofit. It all happened very quickly. And so in that process, what I did, not only coached her, but it was one of those examples where I went into the business and worked with her. Like I was on the phone with realtors, lawyers, all the insurance people, helping her while she had her full-time job. I was doing the exploration and navigating of who she needed to speak to in the process and doing all that like footwork.
Yeah.
And then pulling her in when it was time. So I kind of partnered with her in the growth of establishing this vineyard and getting it. So today, she's doing well. She's living there. And now I'm on the board of her nonprofit, the Be and Let Live project.
That is an amazing story. And it just shows the range of your expertise and how you can help people achieve their goals, both in coaching and in the consulting respect. This sounds like you did both in this one case.
Yes, that's exactly right. I started out coaching, then moved into consulting, and then it was, just a bit of both as we were moving along. Because she had her moments of, I can't do this. What am I doing? This is crazy. How can I do this? And she would call me in those moments and we talk them through. Or if she needed to have a conversation with different people along the way, to the point of also like, how do I do a P&L statement, right? Like, how do I create one of those? Helping her in all those ways.
Yeah. How do you help somebody through one of those situations? Because that's something that comes up a lot. Like when I'm talking to somebody about something that I'm working on, it's like, I don't know if I can do this, even though it has to happen, like it will happen. But how do you get somebody over that hump to be like, no, it's okay. You can do this and it will get done. You're just looking at it a little bit too broadly right now or something like that.
Something like that,
Yeah.
right? Or too narrow because you're like
Yeah.
so in it.
Exactly.
So, I like to use the phrase that I like to turn, and I can turn people onto themselves, right? And really just get excited about who they are and what their vision is. And in those moments, what you're having is just a fear reaction, right? Based on a multitude of things. So we might explore that. Okay, why are you scared? Let's walk through your worst case scenario. Like, let's just live in that for a moment and see what plays out. Because sometimes the worst case scenario, 9 times out of 10, it's not realistic. Like, it's not going to happen. We're just scared it is. And our brains are trying to keep us safe, right? We're very well designed to protect ourselves. Right? So we explore what that is. And then we often go back to your why. Okay, really, why are you doing this? Right? Why are you doing this thing that is scary to you? Why are you taking this risk? And you become enlivened again with your vision, right? Of why you're doing it, the bigger purpose it serves. And so we walk through that. And then I also remind people that it's just a wave that you're feeling, right? Like this is temporary. And through presence, we can mind those waves, right? We can surf the waves through presence, even though it might be the biggest wave you've ever seen, right? But you can. And once you learn that, right, you can get through it because we all have those moments. It's very human.
Very human indeed. And I love the imagery of surfing the waves that come along. It makes it a little bit more fun, I guess.
It does.
It's like, all right, I can do this. This is actually fun.
Yeah.
So, with everything that we're talking about, what would you say to a listener who says, who might be a little bit skeptical of what you're saying? This mindful presence, maybe they think it's a little bit of woo or something like that, right? What would you say to them if they are skeptical about the value of a career coach?
Yes. I think that's a great question. So when I meet with someone from the very beginning, even if they're skeptical, I say, let's have a discovery call, right? Let's just spend some time talking through this and really break it down for them. And oftentimes in those calls, I will do a presence practice so that they can start to see, that they can bring down their nervous system, that they can go into themselves and just have a tangible example of what that is.
Yes.
And break it down. It isn't woo, but I get that it can feel that way to people who are really skeptical. So we'll have a conversation about it, to be honest, and I'll answer their questions very honestly.
Yeah.
And really honor where that person is and where's that skepticism coming from. Is it that you think you can't? Is it your own limiting belief? Is it that it hasn't happened yet, the thing that you're trying to achieve? Maybe it's the promotion or a career change or something. What is it that's stopping? And kind of go into that. And really, if anyone walks away with anything in a discovery call by the end of one, is that they are kind of turned on to themselves, right? That they feel enlivened by their possibility and see that a career coach might be able to help them get into that possibility. A lot of times this thing that we daydream about, whether it's standing up for yourself and advocating or say getting the job or a new career, we often do that, right? The things we daydream about, we can actually make happen, right? And so I like to ask them, what's stopping you? And this is how I can help you with it, right? And then we talk about, the investment and is that worth it to them, right?
So you're proving it to them right there
Right there
on
and
the
then.
call. Yes.
Exactly, right there and then, proving it to them. And then they can sit with that and make a choice whenever they're ready that feels comfortable to them. Because all change takes resources, right? Time, money, energy. And this kind of developmental work does, right? It takes you going to difficult places, and being able to have someone partner with you. In my experience of working with coaches, having my own, it is invaluable, right? With the speed and acceleration and depth and staying power that it has. I often liken working with a coach to actually like in sports, working with a coach. Like a softball coach, you need a batting coach, right? So you go to a specific person who's good at batting, right? Who's got a good batting record or something. And they can look at you, and over time and through practice, they can shine a light of move your hips a little bit this way, pull your elbow back, pull up the bat, right? These small little changes that when together make it really powerful, right? And improve your batting. But you do that over time, and you do that with practice, and the coach is able to show you something that you might not have been able to see. Right? And so you get there faster than doing it by yourself.
Yes, which is ultimately the goal, right? Because you want to achieve your goals.
Yes.
But you also want to do it as quickly as possible too, right?
Right.
If you can.
If you can, absolutely. Not with a silver bullet, right? You want to do it. That's the thing too, is with staying power, which is why I dove into mindfulness and presence and energy work. And using your body and all of that, is that these new habits, this new way of being has staying power, not like a fad diet, but that you really are transforming and becoming that version of you that you see, that you know is possible, that you know is inside of you, the biggest, best version, whatever that is.
Yes, it's sustainable.
It's sustainable. That's a great word for it.
And it seems like to me, maybe the folks who might be a little skeptical of having a coach, does that come from insecurities too? To maybe they don't believe in themselves as much as they should?
I can. Yes, it absolutely can, right? Why would you make the investment? Why would you work with a coach? You should be able to do this by yourself.
Yes.
Right? We hear that shoulding and that hyper independence that keeps us isolated from really what we need are other people. I talk a lot with clients, especially when we're talking about careers, about your support group and your network of support, right? You need a coach, you need a mentor, you need peers, you need people to talk to, you need friends as well, right? You need a well-rounded group of support that you can go to who've got you, right, to be able to do this. You can't do it alone, but we've been fed that myth that we should be able to do this by ourselves. And that just keeps us isolated and fractured and small, right? It feels so much better when you're connected, right?
It
and
really
have
does.
someone to walk a path with you.
Yes.
Yes.
100%. My question to follow up on that is, with you coaching so many people who want unique lifestyles, these are their dreams.
Yes.
And sometimes people's dreams are not in accordance with what society tells people to do. So finding a community of like-minded people can be really difficult for those people who want to, achieve their dreams and go do the thing that they love most.
Yes.
How do you encourage people or give advice to people of how to find that community of like-minded people when there might not be that many people like them in their industry around them?
Right. So, for example, take my client with the vineyard.
Exactly.
Leaving a corporate full-time job, big house, the whole thing, to go start a vineyard. He's never been a business owner, knows nothing about wine, how to make it, right? And all of those things, right? And to just give all that up, the dream, the American dream, quote unquote, to go do something that she was so passionate about, right, can be very scary. So to foster that community, we start going to find like-minded people. So I might ask, okay, in your network, do you know anyone who owns a business? In her case, a woman. Do you know any women business owners? Okay, great. Let's start there. We could start asking them. Ask them for coffee. Ask them if you could talk to them. What was it like? How was it for you, right? To realize there are other people who do this kind of thing. People who might have made that pivot and gone after their dreams. is looking really for the people around you and in your network. Sometimes I've actually been known to connect my clients. So I'm like, you really need to meet this person. And, I'll ask either party if they're okay with it. And most of the time they are, because they've been there and they want to help someone along if they can. I'll connect clients too. But often it's really looking at the resources in the world around you, right? And see if we can find people who aren't too far of arm's reach that you can talk to about this, right? And they can open doors for you or invite you in or et cetera.
And it just doesn't have to be in person, right? Like you can connect people who live on the East Coast and West Coast through a Zoom call or something like that?
Yeah, so my clients are all over actually the world.
Nice.
Yes, I mean, I've got strong roots here in Ithaca, but it can be done and often is done over Zoom, even with my clients here in Ithaca. Just that's the way the world is right now. So when I think the gifts of technology is that we can connect with people out of our physical vicinity, right, who are like-minded, interesting. So absolutely, that can happen over Zoom or a phone call. Yes. Even over Instagram, right, having conversations over your DMs work.
I love it. I'm going to have to take some of that advice for myself because I've definitely been noticing that it's tough for me to connect with other content creators because we're always so busy making content. It's very hard to reach out and be like, okay, can we talk about this? Or like, what is your strategy here? So that's one thing that I've been thinking a lot about. Especially this morning, I saw a video of a content creator saying, just connect with other, YouTubers or whatever. And it's like, but how? Right? So,
Right. How? Because I would imagine maybe they're so busy and they might not notice that you're coming through, right? So you need to find how to create with them also, or to connect with them, not create. Are there like industry organizations? I don't know if there are for content creators, but kind of like a meeting place.
Yeah, I was thinking like Discord or something like that.
Exactly, where there might be a community, etc. Right? Or if you saw the video of the person who said create, go find other content creators, maybe you can message that person and be like, okay, I'm doing it. I'm writing you, right? I've got some questions, right?
Yeah.
Can we have a call or a meeting, or can we just talk here?
Yeah, they didn't put their email in their account, so I was like, darn. I tried though this morning. So I'm definitely trying to get to that point, but it's funny that you bring that up because I was literally just thinking about that this morning. So thank you for your answer.
Oh, good. Well, maybe that's you're channeling that, right? You're thinking, I need some others.
Yeah.
Right? And so now it's starting to show up for you in different ways.
Exactly.
See, this stuff works. Yeah.
I
It's
love
not all
it.
woo-woo.
I love it. With everything, speaking of all of this, I want to talk about some mental health stuff because everything that's going on in the world, the ups and downs, maintaining mental health in the career can be important, right?
Yes.
But I've been hearing this phrase called toxic positivity. And I wanted to talk to you about it because I have mixed feelings about it. Is mental health about trying to have a positive mindset 24/7, or can that become toxic?
Oh, that can become really toxic. That's a lot of pressure to stay positive all the time.
Yeah.
Right? Because what if you have a negative, quote unquote, negative feeling?
Exactly.
Right? And then you're going to have a voice in your head telling you shouldn't be having that feeling. You're supposed to be positive. So now you feel double bad, right? In Buddhism, they call it the double arrow when you feel bad about feeling bad, right? And that just breeds stress in your body. You furrow your brow, you hold on to tension, and it can really keep you bogged down. And so it can become very toxic for you, right? Mental health is about being able to have your experiences, right, in ways that you can manage, in ways where you can have your resilience and an inner sense of peace that you can ride those waves. And you might have tools in your toolbox that are healthy, whatever that means for you. Some people that's Netflix, some people it's journaling, some people whatever it is, right? All the different tools and understanding of self to be able to have all your range of emotions and feelings and still go through life, right? With endurance or stamina. Yes. Being able to show up in the way you want to, in your highest integrity, but not from a place that is damaging, or there might be things we feel negative about. We might be angry or upset or feel injustice. That's okay. I think we should be able. Those are legit feelings, right? It's all a matter of what action you can take, not reaction, but be able to be in a space of action, which is directed activity, right? With those feelings versus reaction when you want to go like throw something against a wall or you storm out of a room or you can't and you get overwhelmed by these negative feelings, quote unquote negative. I say quote unquote because I don't know if feelings really are negative.
Yes, that's what I was thinking too.
Or positive.
Yeah.
They're feelings and they're emotions, and we are wired and capable of having the full range and expression of them, right?
Yeah, and it's about using the helpful tools that you mentioned to take action no matter the feeling.
Exactly. No matter the feeling. That might be how do you handle anger? How do you handle grief, right? How do you handle injustice? You might need a practice for that. And then how do you take action on it? That's what mental health is. It's healthy, right? Positivity all the time. And the emphasis that we're supposed to be all like sunshine and rainbows all the time is just not realistic at all. And one might argue like the highs and lows are good to have. I think another thing I think about with mental health is if you think of the highs and lows, right? Maybe we want the highs and lows not to be so high and so low, right? Where it feels like a big swing, right? That can feel jarring. That can feel unstable. That can feel consuming.
And exhausting.
Maybe under mental health, the goal is that the waves just are, they're waves. There is a range of feelings, but they just don't swing so high and low, and they don't come so frequently all the time.
Yeah.
Right?
But there's going to be moments in life when those waves will be pretty drastic. I mean, if something happens to a family member or something in your life or something like that. But is it about not letting the smaller things get so drastic?
Yes, so that's part of it, right? The smaller things don't need to be so drastic. If they are drastic, it tends to be story. It could be a trauma that's been triggered, right? And that you're reacting about something that really, it's not really about the waiter who brought you the wrong dish, or the person who's driving too slow in front of you and you're late. It's not really about that, right? It's about something else. So that's where knowing yourself, through therapy or whatever it might be, right? That's triggering it to understand. And then when the big things happen, right? Because they're going to happen, being able to give yourself grace for whatever you're feeling, right? Negative, quote unquote, ugly, uncomfortable, let yourself have them. Because another piece of presence and mindfulness is being able to have it, being able to sit with the feelings, right? And just kind of go through it. As uncomfortable as it might be, as sad as it could be, as angry as it can be, but being able to have a sense of self where you can sit with it and let it work through you. Because often there are gifts that come out of the other end, right?
Yes.
And sometimes it takes a while to have these things. They just don't. Sometimes the waves just don't come through so fast, right? There can be a process. But being able to, like say, give yourself the grace to have the feelings and the experience of whatever it is.
I love that you said give yourself grace. That's something that I talked about with a local poet last week at an open mic night. His name is Meek, and he was talking about giving people grace now that the drug and alcohol center went down, or it's not functioning anymore at the moment.
Yes.
He was like, just give people grace. And it seems like maybe if you're able to give yourself grace, then you're able to give others grace as well. Do you have any thoughts on that?
Yes, I do. We can only control what happens with us. I'm thinking of a visual slide I have about this. The only thing we can control are what we do and how we do it. We cannot control anything outside of us. That means how someone receives something you're saying. That means someone's actions, their thoughts, the greater world, the wars, the state of the world, the weather. There's nothing we can do about any of that, right? But we can take care of ourselves, right? And with that, if we can take care of ourselves, if we can, they say, love ourselves or give ourselves grace, right? Then we can do it to others. If we can find ourselves beautiful, we can find other people beautiful. If we can find ourselves in our potential and our aliveness and love that, we can offer that then to other people, right? If we can feel gratitude, a lot of times the meditations I'll do is we'll cultivate a feeling like gratitude, but then envision pouring that gratitude out to other people, right? If you have it, and your cup overfloweth, then it can flow onto others, right?
Yes, I love that.
Yes.
Thank you for that. Thank you. I want to switch topics a
Okay.
little bit here. We had some great conversations, some really deep and meaningful stuff. But I also just want to talk about you as a business owner and also creating content. Because you can't be a business owner or do anything anymore without also being a content creator and promoting your stuff on social media. So I want to ask you, what have you learned from being both a business owner and a content creator at the same time?
That's a great question. I've learned there's not one way to do it, the content creation piece. And to do it in a way that feels painful or out of alignment or just not good is not really going to work. That we need to find with content creation a way that feels authentic to us and lets us engage with what we want to say and how we're saying it in ways that are almost playful or pleasurable and that align with our life and our lifestyle. So that's really the key that I've learned. I've worked with marketing coaches and at first I was very resistant. I'm like, I'm not doing social media. I'm not doing it. I can't. Like, well, okay, why? Why can't you do this? Why don't you want to? And what do you want to do, right? And then how can that play into social media or email? For me, that's what they are, right? So it's really about the authenticity behind the content you're creating. That's what I've learned as a business owner. Then there are some other, I guess, fundamental kind of 101 things, right? You need to be where your target market is. Right. If I was coaching teenagers, I would probably not be on Facebook, right? Or wanted to get messages out to them or something like that. But if I want to go to the parents of the teenagers, I might be, right? So really going where your target market is, engaging with them, using the metrics to understand what your audience is responding to and what's important to them can help me feed into, help my feed to be responsive to what might be important to the people that I'm trying to reach.
Yeah. And I noticed on Instagram, you're doing lots of reels of like quick advice pieces.
Yes.
How have you found those working? Are they doing well for you? Are they hitting anybody and inspiring them to either do better in their own lives or seek help from you or others?
They do with the people who know me best. They do. I'm finding that with people who are new to me, that reels that have that like point of view kind of thing, or really I can tell stories or give that advice in a way that is more conversational than speaking at a camera. It's more like, this is my life and this is what I learned in my life.
Yeah.
Seem to have greater resonance than just talking to a camera like about an advice piece. So I've been trying to diversify and do both approaches.
Mm-hmm. Are you getting like controversial feedback, like negative comments and things from some of your videos?
No.
Okay, that's good.
No, I haven't. Not yet. I see some of the negative comments on some people's videos. I'm like, give the person some grace or just don't say anything. Like that, people can be really mean.
Oh, yeah.
In their comments, like, oh my gosh.
Yeah, especially on YouTube and TikTok.
Yes.
That's the worst.
Yeah, really mean. Whew. Yeah.
I feel like some of that stems from those insecurities that we were talking about before, because if they had given themselves grace, at least the commenter, then they would be able to give others grace too. But because they saw this piece of content that had triggered them in some way to then make them feel like they needed that moment to do a one-up, Like, I feel like there's a lot of one-upmanship, or I don't know another way to say it, but in every industry, in every social media, people are very prideful and need that attention to be like, no, it's like this, and I've done this, and I'm better at it, or you're bad at this, and you suck, or whatever, right? So it seems like there just needs to be a little bit more grace, and maybe some of these people would benefit from your services.
Maybe, because I don't know what you're doing with your time.
Right.
That's one thing we talk about a lot, right, is your time. Like, that you're going to say mean things to people you probably don't even know, right, or have anything to do with. They could probably, because they're definitely being triggered in some way. Like, at the very least, like, people who are creating content on these channels, like, you're being vulnerable. You're putting yourself out there. Like, let them have it. You're not doing that, right? Like, let them have that. Like, this is not easy. It's not that easy to do, right? Putting yourself out there in that way when there's such negative people. So they could probably absolutely spend some time with me talking about their time and why do you feel that you need to just say these things to people, either about what they're wearing, or there's this other coach and she filmed a video and she was in her car and she made it, she might have said she was at a stoplight, but she clearly was not at a stoplight. And so someone called her out on that. And I'm like, okay, well, maybe that's an authenticity point. But then other people really was like, she's not talking honestly. You can see the teleprompter. You might have seen, like, in her glasses, like a reflection of some screen or something. They were just so mean to her about it. And I thought it was really curious about why. Like, was it that she wasn't being authentic and they saw that? Or did they just have something mean to say for some reason? I think it's interesting what you're saying about this one-upness and this kind of like, if someone is creating content that maybe they're positioning themselves as an expert in some way, and then someone, a negative person, a troll, is that what we would use?
Yeah.
Comes in and says, well, no, it's this way, right? There's something about this, like, not enoughness, right? Like, we talk about, like, this core wound of, like, they're not enough, or if this person is out there putting themselves out as an expert and this other person is trolling and they haven't done it, maybe they're being, like, triggered in some way, right?
But at the same time, it's rewarded. That content is rewarded when it gets controversial comments, then it gets pushed in the algorithm at the same time, leading to more controversial comments.
Yeah.
So is that a fault of the algorithm of the social media, or is that a fault of the people? Like, do you have any thoughts on this controversial content being pushed through social media?
Well, ultimately, right, social media is a business.
Mm-hmm.
And social media, the channels are trying just to get people to stay on their platform. And if that's what's responding, that's what's responding. So I almost think about it gets into this sticky, like, webbed conversation about the responsibility of the platform, right? How are we engaging with things? Like you said, this controversial stuff. Because the controversial stuff does get a lot of attention, right? And so that's what I think behind it, is that it's ultimately just a business and it doesn't really serve anybody. But at the same time, there's that old adage, like, I don't even know the old adage, but something about, like, any attention is good attention, or something like that when you're a business.
Yeah, there's no such thing as bad press.
Yes, there's no such thing as bad press. So at least people are hearing about you,
mm-hmm.
right? So it could be a strategy for someone.
That's fair, unless you accidentally go viral for some weird comments, and then all of a sudden you have all of this attention out of nowhere. Like, that wave is just out of the blue, so high.
I follow this one woman. She's a mother of 6. Like, that's her platform. She's a mother of 6. Like, how am I even doing this, right? And I love what she talks about, and she's, like, very real and seems very loving. And she made some comment in one of her reels about how she does this, and they're like her schedule, her weekly schedule. And something in there explained that her kids shower twice a week, right? Because these are 6 kids, so they each get, like, their day. You shower on Tuesdays and Fridays. Of course, she said, if something happened in the middle and they went and, like, rolled around in mud, of course they're going to take a shower. But by and large, the Daily News picked it up about a mother is unsanitary to her children.
Oh, no.
And she got tons of hits and tons of stuff, and they interviewed her on it. And she's like, I can't even believe I'm talking about this. A, that's not what I said. B, there are other things going on in the world right now. Who cares what I do with my kids, right? And that's not what I said. Crazy. But went viral and picked up by a news outlet for something she probably didn't even think twice about when she said it.
Yeah. Was she able to spin that into something positive for her moving forward?
Yes. I think with her, I'm assuming the people who follow her are people who understand and appreciate her lifestyle and what she's trying to say. And she was able to spin it in this is crazy. Look at the state of the world and let me go back to the real. And this is actually what I said and how. And she was very creative about how she explained what she was doing.
So ultimately, it may have resulted in more followers and a bigger community for her.
Yes, I believe it did.
That's good news. And I'm glad she was able to accomplish that. Speaking of everything that's going on in the world, I want to bring it back home here real quick because you moved to Ithaca in 2022.
Yes.
At least that's what I noticed on your website. What do you think about it? Are you planning on staying here for a while?
Oh, yes. I love Ithaca. Moving here was very intentional. I had a checklist and it checked all the boxes. And it's been amazing here. I've moved here also with my daughter. And when we talk about what we wanted life to be like, right? A lot of what I do with my clients, right? What are you envisioning as the perfect life? A place like Ithaca, I thought I would eventually one day in the far future move to. But it happened sooner than that. And it has allowed me through unfolding and being able to breathe and be in a place that is of alignment to who I am, be more of who I am, right? To meet amazing people like yourself, to be part of this great business community, to be able to meet businesses I can support and be supported by, to take hikes at waterfalls weekly. That's amazing, right? That's so joyful. So it's been so fantastic. And I know I'm just scratching the surface, having been here a year and a half. So I look forward to the more of what I can do and experience here and be part of.
Yes. And thank you for including me in your answer. That was very nice. It's very nice to have met you, too. I have only been here for around 2.5 years, but I feel the exact same way. Every day, I just feel like I'm scratching the surface into what this community actually has to offer. And I'm involved with a lot of stuff, and I still feel like there's way more stuff to do and experience. Yes.
It was intentional to become part of, come somewhere where there was a thriving business and nonprofit community. We could say that was part of that, of course, would be business, I guess, purposes, but it's more about what I can do, right, in this business and how I can contribute to the community and like-minded folks. And same, I feel like I'm pretty involved in places, but there's so much more and there's so many more people and great things because I think it's about going deeper, right, into the community and the town and what it needs and what you can bring to it. And Ithaca is a great place in that there's this rich tapestry of people, right? Everyone is multi-passionate. Everyone's doing something different. And so there's an understanding of when you explain that you might be this and this, right? You might do this and do this. There is an appetite for that.
Yes.
Which is really great. So it allows you to just explore all the different things that might be interesting to you.
Yeah.
Right?
Even if you find something new and interesting that day, you could probably find something around it.
Yes. Especially if it's around art. I really love art here.
Yes. It's so exciting.
I got such a kick out of our I voted stickers was art. It was they had the school kids submit art and one was chosen and they put that on the I voted stickers. They just don't miss up an opportunity to have local artistic expression.
I love it.
I love it.
Yes. So cool. So I want to end on a question here. So thank you so much for your time today. But I'm curious, since you are going to be staying in Ithaca for a while, what is your motivation for the future?
My motivation for the future is one, there's probably a few, so we'll go through it. One is to be rooted, right, in this community. That was a goal of mine, and so being able to have those roots continue to grow is one. Two would be motivated by this larger vision I have, which is to do more of this coaching and consulting and workshops and retreats for women and the LGBT community. I mean, I see beautiful things like beautiful spaces on the water where people are moving through, their barriers and their challenges, kind of like this transformational kind of work. And being able to hold space and guide people through that and get them turned on to themselves is just very motivating to me. Thirdly, I think would be some kind of next phase of life. I mentioned I have a daughter in high school, so she'll be graduating. And what is that? And what kind of bright horizons are we going to have? I'm very excited about that. So that's kind of motivating to me. But being here in Ithaca has helped me become motivated by that. Like, there's just so much possibility of what I think can unfold and grow here.
That's incredible, and I look forward to seeing you around for a long time because I want to stick around.
Okay, good.
So thank you so much for being on the
you.
podcast today. We really appreciate you. I feel like we had a great conversation today, and it's going to bring lots of value to lots of people. If you're watching and listening, I have the information for Kim if you want to learn more in the description, website, Instagram, Facebook, all of the links. So be sure to reach out and book a consult call because she has lots of great experience to share with whatever you're trying to do, as you can plainly tell by all of the conversations that we had today. And if you're interested in learning more about what we do here at Well Said Media in Ithaca, New York, you can head on over to our website, wellsaidmedia.com. Thanks for watching and listening today, everybody.